The house of self-service glistened with gold leaf and inherited smugness. In the centre, a gleaming golden trough gently steamed with something thick, brown, and suspiciously luxurious. Lord Porkbarrel stood in front of it, a bib around his neck, sipping gravy from a ladle like it was a vintage Merlot. "You can really taste the taxpayer in this batch," he murmured. "Hints of diesel, disappointment, and budget cuts. Lovely." Dame Greedia Snoutington strode in wearing a £1,000 coat labelled Essential Outerwear Claimed. She carried a paper cup that looked eco-friendly, but probably wasn't. "They've added oat milk to the lattes now," she announced proudly, "supposed to show we care about the environment." "Didn't we just vote to bulldoze a nature reserve?" asked Porkbarrel. "That's why I ordered a biodegradable straw," she replied. Sirloin of Cash barged in, wearing a brand new high-vis jacket over a tailored suit and holding a lunchbox he didn't pack himself. "Morning, comrades of the people. I'm off to experience a real job this morning. 30 minutes standing near a building site. Classic outreach." Greedia raised an eyebrow. "Did you bring the press?" "Of course. And this," he said, holding up a thermos. "It shows I understand the working class enjoy warm liquids." At that moment, Citizen Nobody entered, tired, underpaid, and carrying a utility bill that looked more like a threat than an invoice. "Sorry to interrupt your breakfast buffet or whatever this is. My energy bill's tripled. I've skipped 2 meals this week. Any of you got thoughts?" "Thoughts?" Lord Porkbarrel wiped his chin. "Of course. We care deeply, don't we, Greedia?" "Absolutely," she nodded. "I once drove past a food bank and nearly made eye contact. Changed me forever." Citizen Nobody looked around. "Have any of you actually paid a bill with your own salary?" "I paid once," said Sirloin, traumatized. "Accidentally. I'm still in therapy." "I bought a sandwich once without expensing it," added Greedia. "I collapsed from the stress." Porkbarrel leaned in, serious. "Everything's on expenses, even our toothbrushes. I list mine as oral resilience infrastructure." "What do you actually do?" Citizen Nobody asked. "We serve," said Greedia. "Serve who?" "Ourselves," Sirloin smiled. "Mostly." Citizen Nobody blinked. "None of you have done a real job, have you?" "I've worked," protested Porkbarrel. "I've been in politics since I was 22. Before that, I studied politics. It's practically the same thing." "My grandfather was an MP," said Greedia. "I interned for him, then his friend hired me, and then I inherited a safe seat. It's called earning your way up." "I sat on a committee for employment and skills once," added Sirloin. "Did you have a job?" "No," he said proudly, "but I read a report about them. Glossy one. Nice graphs." Citizen Nobody sighed. "So, none of you have packed a box, swept a floor, or answered to a boss?" "That's what the public is for," Greedia replied, without irony. "My second cousin did a week in retail once," said Sirloin. "He still twitches at the sound of a barcode scanner." Greedia gestured toward the golden trough. "This is where the real work happens. Policy, strategy, champagne lunches disguised as mental health summits." "We take appearances very seriously," said Porkbarrel. "I expense 3 empathy workshops a year." "I claimed a puppy as a wellness mascot," said Sirloin. "I flew to Milan for a fact-finding mission on artisanal bread," said Greedia. "Turns out, it's just bread." "That came out of public funds?" asked Citizen Nobody. "Of course," she replied. "Can't be expected to discover continental hardship on my own dime." "What's your actual salary?" "No idea," said Porkbarrel. "It goes into an account. I mainly live off the floating expense pool." "You mean the taxpayer?" "We prefer the term passive contribution source." "I work 50 hours a week and I'm still broke," said Citizen Nobody. "You attend 2 debates and a photo op and call it service." Now, said Sirloin. "Some weeks we attend 3 photo ops." "And I once nodded at a nurse," said Greedia. "Real eye contact, very moving. Do you even know how much a litre of milk costs?" "Aren't there different types?" asked Porkbarrel. "Gold top, blue top, Waitrose premium?" You think Waitrose is a real supermarket? Isn't it where the poor go to feel less poor? No, said Citizen Nobody. It's where you buy things with your own money. Ah, that explains the panic alarms, muttered Sirloin. Citizen Nobody held up the bill. This is reality. Rent, heat, food, not photo shoots and policy brunches. Reality's never polled well, to be fair, shrugged Pork Barrel. A bell rang. A red carpet unrolled itself. A booming voice echoed, "Incoming media visit in 5 minutes. Initiate relatability protocol." "Quick, props!" Greedia cried. She grabbed a child's drawing and held it like it was biohazardous. Sirloin wrapped a scarf around his neck and frowned at a broken toaster. Pork Barrel squinted into the distance and placed a hand solemnly on his heart. "We must look like we care," he said. "Don't actually care. It's exhausting." Citizen. Nobody watched them pose in front of a banner reading, "Action on Poverty." "The poverty was added digitally," whispered Greedia. "We green-screened a rundown estate behind us." "One poor bloke wandered into the frame," said Sirloin. "We had him escorted off the set." "Have you ever spoken to a real family in crisis?" "Only during election season," said Pork Barrel. "And even then, through a double-glazed window." He took another slurp of gravy. "Ah, that's the good stuff. Reminds me of last year's Brussels retreat." "You mean that EU Waste Review Summit?" asked Greedia. 5 days, 4 stars, unlimited wine. The waste was mostly us." "I thought you hated Brussels." "Publicly, yes," said Pork Barrel. "Privately, we dream of it. MEPs get better perks. You get paid for turning up, or not turning up. It's brilliant. You'd leave the country just to upgrade your gravy? We'd leave anyone for more gravy." "I'm already practicing my French," said Sirloin. "Je suis désolé, I must claim this lunch." "I booked a fact-finding mission already," said Greedia. "Belgian beer research." "And a seminar on how to appear humble while doubling your housing allowance," added Pork Barrel. Citizen Nobody shook his head. "This isn't politics. It's pantomime with pensions." "We take our jobs very seriously," said Greedia. "We just launched the Select Committee for Pretending to Care. 9 members, 4 consultants, 1 dog," said Sirloin. "We're drafting a white paper on appearing genuine in hostile photo conditions," added Pork Barrel. "We've even trialled concern workshops," said Greedia. "You practice frowning while saying words like crisis and community. Can any of you name a single policy you've delivered?" "Of course," said Pork Barrel. "Last year we passed the Feel Good Funding Act." "It allocated £5 million to improve vibes," said Greedia. "We built a sculpture called Hope." "It's shaped like a ladder no one can climb," said Sirloin. "Symbolic. And extremely Instagrammable." Citizen Nobody turned toward the exit. "Where are you going?" asked Greedia. "Back to the real world," he said. "Where rent isn't subsidised and gravy comes in jars." "Before you go," said Sirloin, "could you fill out this survey? Just tick the box that says, 'I feel heard.'" Citizen Nobody dropped the form in the bin. Behind him, the golden trough gurgled. "All this listening has made me dizzy," said Greedia. "I need a taxpayer-funded massage." Sirloin lifted his phone. "Shall we schedule a brainstorming retreat in Tuscany? We'll call it Cost of Living, a Global Perspective." "Can we expense it?" asked Pork Barrel. "Naturally." The lights dimmed. A spotlight hit the golden trough. The national anthem played, slightly off-key. Greedia wiped away a tear. "God, I love democracy." Like and follow or subscribe and take a look at our other content.